Item 5, receipt of petitions and correspondence from the public. Ms. Barrett.
We had a few speakers this evening. I did have one letter that Mayor Tederick asked that I read. Mayor Tederick and Town Council, thank you for representing a wonderful town. It is one of the few places that reflects great community, alert for its consistent atmosphere, and most of all, and the reason for this letter is the tremendous peace and safety of your community because of the police department. Upon driving in, mostly I came Route 55 with a stop at Plumbers. Vehicular traffic is reflective of a caring community that obeys signals and speed limit signs, which is refreshing. It's a joy to visit your city, and safety is always the top of the list. Hometown heroes that keep us safe and rescue folks in need are the most important aspect of the community to maintain a constant consistency, such as witnessed in Front Royal. I've included a Rockstar Award for the Front Royal Police Department. We'll also post this letter on the Eagles Watch News page on a specific page focused on your wonderful town. This is from David Minyard. He's of the Eagles Watch Foundation. And I have that star for the police department. And I'll make sure they get that. And our first speaker this evening is Adele Medved.
Would you state your name and address, please?
Adele Medved, 62 South Marshall Street here in Front Royal. Never done this before, just start talking. Okay. I'm here specifically to address the issue that's on the agenda regarding the suspension of the recycling program. I know something has to be done because ever since China initiated in 2017, I think they call it Operation National Sword, where they decided taking our trash was not in their best interest. We've had to completely look at our whole recycling program. And I certainly commend the Public Works folks for what they've done, if this PowerPoint is any indication of that. As a citizen who really cherishes the environment and everything we have to offer here, I hope that we will do everything we can to consider not suspending the recycling program. 85 cents additional seems like a very, very small amount to pay for something like that. But I think there are things that we can do. Among that is check with Fairfax County. The Northern Virginia has a wonderful regional group that has addressed some of the very concerns that we're addressing now. I don't know if you've thought about that or heard about that, where they're focusing on reviving glass recycling, and they have a facility where they grind it up and they use it to include in the materials that they put on their roads. So it certainly would be a good resource if people want to look at that. Also, I think we need to address the issue of wishful recycling. I know I'm guilty of that. I think we used to say, well, you know, that's probably okay. Well, I think the new mantra, considering the change with China, is when in doubt, throw it out. Because an item that is not designed to be recycled or isn't properly cleaned can really muck up the works. They have some very good educational materials on addressing that, but those are my thoughts, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Mr. Gabbard.
Your name and address.
Paul Gabbard, 1221 Valley View Drive. Good evening.
Good evening.
I agree with the recycling. It's very important to a lot of us, so if it needs to be suspended for a while, do that, but bring it back if that's all possible. I've got a few things to say. I've taken some polls around town. I've walked the streets. I've asked people in Walmart, everywhere, about the afternoon issue. This isn't my personal opinion, but I've asked two questions. What should happen to the afternoon? Should the work keep being done on it, spending money on it, or should it be torn down and a park put in place? 100% of the people said tear it down. They're tired of spending money on it. They think it's a dilapidated building that can't be brought back to its former status. The other issue I have, and I did a poll on this, is the water to Crooked Run. 100% of the people that I polled said rezoning of the land to residential they do not want. 100% said no to the town sending water to Crooked Run. 100% said that the council said no to sending water to it, the rezoning issue would be dead. It would be no further. The county would not have to vote on it. At the meeting, a work session several weeks ago, everyone except you, Mr. Meza, was against sending water out there. Your argument for sending water was, aren't we in the business of selling water? Which I assume means you are in favor of the rezoning. The water in the Shenandoah River is not yours to sell, sir. It belongs to everyone. I feel sorry for you if that's how you look at the river, the Shenandoah River, as a way to make a buck. Look at the future. When more jurisdictions upriver from us keep building residential, what's going to happen to the river? Are there going to be more droughts? Is the water going to be low because of more residential being fed by the river? Are there going to be more water restrictions? Yeah. Yes to both of those. Is it going to be a trickle by the time it gets to the Potomac? Maybe. But you need to remember that the citizens of Front Royal and the county do not want this rezoning. They do not want water to be sent with everything that is going on in this county. Don't let the citizens think you care about what they want and don't want, that you don't care. You are in your seats to listen and do what the citizens want, not what you as an individual wants.
Is that your wrap up, sir?
Okay, I can go real quick. I'll skip some of it because I was going to talk about the EDA. But the one thing I want to say about the EDA, and then I just have one more thing. Some of you who were in office during the EDA scandal apologized to Ms. Egger at one of the public meetings. But you have yet to do that to the public, to the citizens who are paying the price of this. I hope you'll do that, maybe after I sit down. And I think, in honor of Ms. Egger, since she was the only one to have, I guess you could say, the sense to look at what was going on, I think one of you gentlemen should bring up the idea of changing Ms. Thompson's letterhead there or whatever to councilwoman and not councilman. I think that's appropriate in this day of age, and we're not in the good old boy territory anymore. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Excuse me, if I may, I actually would like to respond to that, if I may, Ms. Thompson. Oh, yeah. When council is elected, I approach council and ask them if they would like to be addressed in a certain way. And Ms. Thompson prefers council.
That's fine, if that's how she wants it. In the future, I'm just saying, maybe someone else will want it.
Thank you. Ms. Barrett?
Mr. Connolly?
I'm sure it's quite knowledgeable. State your name and address, please.
John Connolly, 328 Jamestown Road. Members of council, Mr. Vice Mayor, I'm here tonight to also speak to the recycling issue and to urge you, please do not suspend recycling service to the town of Front Royal. I've worked with many of you for a long time, the better part of 5 years. You all know me pretty well. You know that I'm a fairly conservative sort of guy, and I'm all for leaving up to the private individuals and private enterprise what they can do. But this is not something that I can do as a private individual, and it is something that I want to continue being able to do. The price, 85 cents per month, is something that I, as a customer of the town, am very much willing to take on. And I believe that there are many people who feel the same way as I do about it. It's also been brought to my attention that the first year would be paid for by not having to buy a replacement recycling truck, a replacement recycling trailer that is currently brought around. Mr. Waltz knows that I spent a long time badgering him about when are we going to move to single stream recycling, when we're going to move to single stream recycling. Well, apparently the town's hand has been forced. It's time to move to single stream recycling. And considering that you have the first year accounted for in the budget, I don't know why you would be considering suspension now, when you could suspend a year from now if you consider that price to be too much to pay. I don't think it speaks well of the town. I don't think it speaks well of the council to move to suspend recycling for the whole town. I think that I want to live in the kind of community that recycles. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Ms. Conley.
Sheila Conley, 328 Jamestown Road. I brought my kids here tonight because this is an issue they actually care a great deal about, that I've been teaching them their entire life, that we don't just throw things away if they have life left in them, that we use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. And, you know, they've been helping to rinse the jugs and the cans, because I realize that they're going to grow up into a world that has even more garbage than the one that I grew up in, that the oceans have more plastic in them than they did when I was a kid. And they are going to be the ones who are going to have to clean it up. And we have to think about the lesson that we're teaching them, and are we preparing them to be the kind of people who are going to clean it up and we're going to leave the planet cleaner than we are leaving it? Or are they going to see it as something that is optional, that their parents weren't willing to spend 85 cents to do? And it's worth 85 cents to my children to recycle, and it's worth 85 cents to me, so I think that we should keep it, even if it does cost a little more. Thank you.
Liz Cowan.
My name is Elizabeth Powell, and I live at 508 Palmore Drive in Front Royal. I'm here also to speak about the recycling issue. I just think that it makes sense, since we have the money for the whole first year to pay for this if we don't get the new truck, that it would make sense to use that as planning time to be able to come up with another plan for what to do with the recycling. I feel like if we just suspend the program, everyone who's gotten into this regular habit of putting aside their recyclables would not have that habit anymore. We would have to work again on education and encouraging people to put those things aside as opposed to throwing them in their trash can. So I just think if what we need is time to prepare, let's just not buy this truck, use the money to help this program so that we can transport our recyclables to Manassas, as was outlined in the previous council meeting by the Department of Public Works. And in the meantime, I know that there's the Northern Shenandoah Regional Committee that's working on another plan. I heard that they were thinking about planning out the possibility of opening up a recycling center that would actually process some of these things in our area. So if we were able to pay for it for this first year, and then, you know, use the time to plan out something so that China isn't an issue. We're not relying on someone else to take care of our mess. We want to be responsible as our own community and take care of this ourselves. So I just think it makes financial sense to at least use this as planning time to try to be able to continue this and get everybody to be able to continue in the flow of their usual responsible habits, and even to encourage more recycling rather than just dumping our trash. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Jim Shanley.
James Shanley, 1408 Pickett Court. I'm speaking also on the suspension of the recycling program, and I would like to make a few points. One is that it's hard to restart a system once it's stopped. I'd like to see the program continue certain efficiencies are lost when you stop the program and then restart it sometime later. And I don't know if that's been accounted for. I think since we have this opportunity that there are funds available, budgeted funds for the trailer or truck, whatever that was, to carry us through this next year, we should take that opportunity and proceed with the system as it is in place and study opportunities that might be developing that can make this a more feasible proposition overall. And finally, I haven't seen any analysis of what we're doing with this new trash stream that was previously recycled. Now we're going to have to take this previously recycled material, and it's not going to be dumped for free. There's going to be a cost or an opportunity cost to dispose of this. It used to be recycled. So I haven't seen that in the equation. Maybe I missed that. But my lead on this is that we have the momentum. I'd rather, since we have the opportunity to cover our expenses for this next year, to proceed with the program as is. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor, that was our last speaker.
We'll go to item number 6, reports, town officials, town manager.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. I have 2 announcements tonight. I want to let the citizens know that the town is sponsoring the Cardinals baseball game this Saturday night to kick off our Employee Appreciation Week. So we do have free tickets available at Town Hall and Visitor Center. So come on out and support your local Cardinals and your town employees at the same time. It's also my pleasure to announce that we have a new employee recognition program called P Square equals E, which stands for Pride Performance Equals Excellence. This program is designed to encourage employees to go beyond our citizens' expectations and meet the highest standard of service to our community. This program will provide citizens as well as co-workers the opportunity to recognize town employees who deliver outstanding service to our community. There's no limit to recognizing our employees through the month. A certificate of excellence will be awarded to all those that are recognized, and all recognitions will be entered into the Star of the Month and Star of the Year. So this program starts this month, so let's kick out and start recognizing our stars for the future. Vice Mayor, that concludes my report tonight.
Thank you. Requests and inquiries of council members. Anyone?
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor. I just wanted to comment on Mr. Gabbert's address to Town Council. First, Mr. Gabbert, I'm happy to talk to you afterwards. If you stick around, I'm happy to talk to you more about my comments related to sun and water. But I do want to go on the record that I am for different affordable housing options that were proposed in the Crooked Run project, namely from apartments and townhomes as well as senior living, stacked with on top of shops and different opportunities for businesses to also relocate out there. I think it's a pretty cool model. I've seen it done in the west end of Richmond, where it's been very successful. And I think if we have options for different price points for housing, I think it'd be really good for this community. In order to make that happen, you'd have to send water out, and that's what brings up the term selling water, is actually what we do as a town for the commercial businesses out there. Even the homes on Blue Ridge Shadows, we charge them for the water and generates revenue for the infrastructure to continue the expansion and building of our plants. So I didn't mean it as selling water as in we're trying to make a profit on our community or on our residents for providing water services, but rather charging for the water services that we're providing. In return, we develop the infrastructure to be able to provide water out there. So I do like the further development idea. In that council meeting, in that work session, we did discuss the water usage from the river and our capacity and how much capacity we have for continual growth in this community. So it's something that we take into consideration and evaluate. And I think your point was well taken, that we do have to be very, very conscientious about that and very thoughtful about the zoning that we allow. I am concerned that we have over 1,000 houses zoned, residential homes zoned in the town of Front Royal proper that have been that way for a very, very long time, decades. and we haven't seen the development of any of those houses. And I would like to see some development around the town of Front Royal. It would be wonderful if it was within the town limits and it wasn't out in Crooked Run, but that's not happening. And I would like to see that done sooner rather than later so that we do have some different alternate housing options. But again, Mr. Gabbard, I really appreciate your comments. I'm happy to sit around and talk to you more in depth about that as well. So thank you.
Anyone else? Moving to interim mayor, I'd like to second what our town manager said. Come out and support the Front Royal Cardinals. I'll be there. Probably make a fool of myself throwing out the first pitch. So if you want a good laugh, I haven't thrown a baseball in probably 30 years, but
I'll be there now. I'll be
oh.
there.
You're gonna take a bet on it if I make it a home plate. Next item, proposal addition or deletion of items to the agenda. Anyone? Hearing none. We'll move to the consent items. There are none, so we'll move to council approval on budget calendar. I need a motion.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I move that council approve the fiscal year 2020 to 2021 budget calendar as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question to our town manager. Since we're starting this thing real early, is that going to give us a good overview to come up with the actual costs and things as early as August, as you all have on August the 19th?
I look at it as a start. Staff starts building the budget in October, so I'd have to say that we need some direction by the end of October. So August is just to start the process.
I understand, and I'm really glad we're doing that, because I know before, by the time we got the budget, we were just being told what was in the budget. So, no, I'm 100% for this, and I think that the sooner we can get started, the sooner that we'll know more factual things that's coming up in front of us for the
Any other discussion this time? Hearing none, Ms. Berry?
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sealock?
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall?
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving to item number 9, liaison committee agenda items for July the 18th meeting. I need a motion, please.
I move that council approve the addition of 2 items to the liaison committee meeting agenda scheduled for July 18th, 2019. Those items are 1, the dissolution of the Economic Development Authority, and 2, citizen committee to evaluate the town-county EDA.
I need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion
Yes,
this
Mr.
time?
Mayor, who is the person that's going to be at that meeting with the mayor? Me. You going to be there? Okay, that's fine.
No more discussion? Ms. Berry, please.
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sealock?
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall?
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 10, council approval bid for a cured-in-place sewer lining services. Need a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, I move the council approve the bid for cured-in-place sewer lining services for FR-6 and FR-7 basins within the town Tri-State Utilities LLC in the amount of $1,074,945.99.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is something that we're trying to, clear up our I&I, which is inflow and infiltration, which comes from rainwater that comes into our system. It overflows our sewer plant, and by going in and replacing and curing these lines in place, it keeps us from digging the streets up. We can go into a manhole. It's a bladder that goes in. It's put into heat resins, and then the resins get hard, and it really puts in a new system without digging up the road and all the other things. The only other thing we have to do is go in and cut the coupons out in order to open up the laterals for that particular section of service. So yes, this is something that we really need to do, and I know that we started this when I was Public Works Director. It works great, and I'm 100% for it, because we have to, continue to work our I&I so that we can get off of DEQ consent agenda.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Berry?
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Vice-Mayor Sealock?
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall?
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving to item number 11, fiscal year 20 budget amendment for Community Development Department. Motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move that, Vice Mayor, I move that council approve FY20 budget amendment to create a separate departmental budget for community development in the amount of $26,450. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion at this time? Hearing none, Ms. Berry?
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Vice-Mayor Sealock?
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall?
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Coming to our council approval for suspension of recycling collection. Motion, please.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I move that council direct staff to continue the recycling collection for the fiscal year 1920 by changing the process to single stream recycling and send all recyclables to Republic Services in Manassas at an approximate annual cost of $43,000, and to allow the budgeted solid waste capital expense of a recyclable trailer of $48,000 to be reallocated to the solid waste operating expense.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion this time. I'd like to begin. When we discussed this thing in a short notice on work session last week, I mentioned suspension immediately. I picked up on the magic word of stockpiling and not fully understanding what stockpiling meant. What I heard was stockpiling to the point on hope that someone would in the future purchase these items. I thought that was the wrong way to go until we came up with a plan. The plan is now straightforward, pretty much so. There is a recycling center. The motion stated that, which brought up some other questions in my mind immediately, and the town manager will vet all these things. The first thing came to mind was this place vetted properly? Have we visited? Do we know what they do? What is single streaming? You know, the other thing, I had a lot of calls over the weekend about contamination, food contamination. Is our public fully aware of what the recycling process is and what you have to do? I had people calling me and said, well, I wash all my cans, I de-label everything, I wash the plastics. We no longer take glass. I understand now that this recycling center does not take glass. So the plan is not fully developed at this point, but with this way forward, at least we have a plan to move forward. So that was the idea behind suspension, and I don't want anybody else to have to take heat for it, because I was concerned with stockpiling for any future instead of moving the recycling forward. So that was the whole purpose of my question on suspension. Anyone else at this time?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Sealock, you and I pretty much agreed. I had pretty much the same ideas. But after talking to Joe about these things and knowing that we have some money available, that I'm willing to go ahead and bring it forward for another, possibly a year, if that's what it takes. But I would like for us to consider that we get an update every 3 months in regard to the cost and see if we're going through the process and we're going to be able to do it for the whole year with the $43,000. We do have a few dollars left over from the $48,000 if we do have to have a little cushion in money. But you know, the biggest problem that I see with this, and I've been through this too, is when you take it to Republic and anything they can't recycle, they send it to the landfill in Manassas. And so that's an issue that we do have. So, you know, we need to be aware of that. And So with all that said, I'm willing to vote for it, at least try it for 1 year, or at least till we decide that we may want to change some things.
Mr. Town Manager, would you make note of that 3-month notification to the council?
Yeah, will do. I think that's a good idea to come back in 3 months and reevaluate where we're at.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I'm going to be voting to keep the recycling program. I think that I want to see us bring this back to work session pretty soon, because we need to find finding a way to make this sustainable for our town. I do not want to see this program go away. Thank you.
Mr. Meza?
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor, thank you. I think it's a good solution to be able to bring it back to work session and discuss it. I would add this with the 3-month update. I would like to get a trend of our recycling trash service cost over the past 5 years. I appreciate that Mr. Conley, former Councilman Conley, came out tonight to talk about that. He was here when I first started talking about the increased cost for our trash service and recycling service. It was a concern of mine and wanting to find an alternate solution for it 3 years ago. And it is continuing to increase, and for no fault of our own, as far as the recycling goes, other than that we haven't had an opportunity to move over to single stream recycling. It has continued to increase, and now, yes, there is budgeted dollars, let's say $40,000, $50,000, but it's still $40,000 or $50,000 that we're going to spend to find an alternative way to recycle this year. So we're still going to come out of pocket. In other words, our recycling cost just went up $50,000. So even though we're not passing it on to our citizens today, we will be passing it on tomorrow. And 85 cents doesn't sound like a lot, but when we raise property taxes, electrical rates, water rates, water, sewer, trash services, every single time we raise rates, then we have people who are upset at the fact that we didn't control cost. And I think that's another side of this coin that we're facing. How do we control the cost? So definitely in favor of a recycling program, definitely in favor of not suspending it and finding an alternate solution. But I do want to just point out, kind of as a disclaimer, that this cost is continually going up and we're having a hard time controlling it. So I do hope we can find a solution. But it is one of those things that will ultimately be passed on to the taxpayers if we can't.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, Ms. Berry?
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sealock?
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall?
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving to item 13, council reappointments for our planning commission. I need a motion, please.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I move that council reappoint Carol Merchant and Connie Marshner to the Front Row Planning Commission to a 4-year term set to expire August the 31st, 2023.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this matter?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I would like to say I really appreciate Mr. Merchant and Mrs. Marshner spending the time and effort on our planning commission. It's a volunteer position. They review a lot of different cases that come across the docket. Sometimes it's a thankless job, and I appreciate the dedication and the willingness to continue serving. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank them both for being open to reappointment.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I echo that as well.
I would like to add one more thing. I appreciate each person coming out to talk about these items tonight. It's good to see the public out in force. Ms. Berry, would you move forward, please?
With the vote?
Yes.
Sure. Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sealock?
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall?
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
One last factor, and I neglected to do this. I'd like to pass to the town manager one more time on this recycling issue. It seems to be a important issue tonight. And with the council's permission, I'd like to add to our education piece. Would you handle that, Joe?
Sure. As you know, we're going to be going to single stream recycling, which definitely brings up the point of it should encourage more to recycle for simple fact that you do not have to separate. One of the biggest things we're going to have to do is educate the public on contamination. Contamination is an issue that we have to deal with, and with the recycling companies will accept and won't accept. And so there's some basic education that we're going to start rolling out first thing tomorrow to educate the public on what they need to do with their cans, washing out food products and their plastics, removing the labels, delabeling, and of that sort. But there's some work that will thrust upon the citizens to get the material in a proper order. But we plan to educate the public, and we're going to get these things out first thing tomorrow because it's effective tonight. We are in single stream recycling, which I'm very happy about.
As again, thank you all. I need a motion to close, please.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion to close and a second. Ms. Berry?
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sealock?
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall?
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.